100,000. Doing some math, trying to figure it all out. Like, would it make sense to kickstart a game? Or would it make more sense to market it directly? Do we kickstart or do we do something else? I don't know what makes the most sense for what we want to try to do. It's hard to imagine how, having never done anything this big or even been responsible for managing something this big, if I want to launch something huge on an international level with a viral marketing campaign and fund some free samples and sponsorships to other online media makers, do a press release, build a web page specifically for the game. Like, when I talk about doing big, I mean like as big as I can imagine making something go for myself. Like, what's the best way to do that? Is it to try to do it over an extended period of time? Let's just take a look at like kickstarting. Let's ask good old I guess we'll call it Google. And see what they say about crowdfunding options. So Kickstarter is the first one that shows up. Crowdfunding for Kickstarter or Indiegogo? And see, I mean, the problem with those is I feel like you can get lost in those. But that's sort of like an illusionary problem, because without using them as platforms, I'm still lost. Nobody's finding me any more now than they are finding me if I do a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. And I think the other potential value of a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo is if we don't reach the funding marker that we want to reach, it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm not on the hook for anything if we don't get there. Okay, so Kickstarter, how does it work? Now, I've supported some projects on Kickstarter in the past, and I do think there's the potential for that to work well for what we're doing. Okay, fulfillment from Kickstarter. And that the fulfillment aspect of it also seems to suggest, like with a Kickstarter, if you order a game that I've designed, I have to get the game shipped to you. Whereas if I'm doing this differently, I would potentially do something like set up a Game Crafters and you could go to their site and order from them. No minimum orders and bulk discounts. There is no minimum order size when you design a game at the Game Crafter. Buy one copy or as many as you need. We offer bulk discounts starting at just 10 copies. The same is true for game pieces and game accessories. So let's take a look at what they're offering bulk. Like, it is a question I have for them, honestly, and I almost felt like calling up Game Crafters and finding out, like, what's their upper threshold. So it looks like they're willing to say that they can do 1,000 copies of a game in a reasonable amount of time. So what I'm thinking of here, and part of what I'm doing here, is for like a card game. I'm not talking about like the role-playing game that I was playing around with last time we were on here, which was Tuesday night. What night are we even on? Yeah, it's Tuesday night. Okay, so Tuesday night we were talking about a role-playing game that I was building structures for. What I'm talking about tonight is board games, tabletop games, and like dice games and card games, like the ones we built a couple years ago, where we were designing game ideas. Was it a couple years ago or just last year? Now, last year we had so much hard drive crash that most of last year was really just brainstorming new story ideas. Okay, so 2019, before pandemic hit, we did a year of, was it 2019 or 2018? I can't even remember anymore. We did a year of game design. We did, I think, 5 game designs. What did we end up with? I know I have a list of things I was working on before that it's not all from that time, but some of it. So we have like the Book of Wrongs, Goblin's Daughter story writing, some video stuff that we worked on, the animated series of videos that I started playing around with this year. Board games. Okay. I had a game for years before I even really started designing games on here. I came up with a game called Runcible Foods, a game in bad taste. And that game is pretty much finished. The rules are finished. I could do a very simple downloadable PDF that people could print out and play at home for a print and play version. And that's a possibility to do through something like Teespring, where people can order the PDF, buy it, instantly download it, print and play the game as a test run. And the markup value for any profits off of that, I could set that profit at a certain window, say $5, something like that, for the downloadable PDF. You could print a simplified version of that game as a PDF, and that would get you the ability to play that game for less. Now, through Game Crafters, I believe the end up on some of this would be probably in the range of $20 for the cost of the game. It's like a 72, 75 card deck. And you could order that deck, it could be shipped to you, and it would take more time to get to you. And the restrictions that exist for that would be a little bit more of the cost would be higher, and the time to get it, and fulfillment of that becomes more difficult because it has to be produced. So I don't imagine they're going to do like a 10,000 order run in a month. Like that load has to be spread out, I imagine. I don't know. I don't know for sure if Game Crafters is up to a massive load order. Because what I would really love to be able to do is start a campaign through some marketing and some ads on YouTube. I'm thinking I'm going to go on Reddit and sort of pitch my ideas on some communities for game designers and marketing and stuff like that, and just get a sense of how to get the word out. And I know Board Game Geek is a website where people can review and find out information about games that exist. So I need to get some information about my game up on there. I need to maybe make a website for my game. And once that's up and running, I would love to be able to reach a point where maybe not in a month, but because it's a food game that's played with 3 or more people, upwards of 5 people for one deck, more than one deck, you can play upwards of 10 people at a table playing this game together. So I want to launch it. I'll probably do a soft launch for summertime. But I really want to full on launch the sales campaign for fall. And part of that would be the idea that, for Thanksgiving and Christmas time, people would be buying these to play with family at family gatherings. Beyond that, my goal for that is to see if we can anchor enough interest at the right level for the game that I will be able to take the money on, pay the taxes on what's made, and then give 50% of it to a charity for fighting hunger and food scarcity in the United States. So that would be my hope. And the marker I kind of feel like I have to hit for that is I would need to sell at least 100,000 copies for that to work out economically in the right way. And for that to happen, that's a hard push. And you have to get really, really lucky to get that kind of reach that'll make those sales in a series of months. So say September, October, November, December, 4 months. You got 4 months to reach that point. Could we do it? Maybe. It's not impossible, but it's extremely unlikely. You have to have a lot of faith, and you're going to put in a crap ton of work to hit that level. But the other option is you can start something like a crowdfund campaign, and you can put all the same efforts into it. Media outreach, sponsorships of certain people on YouTube for getting the message out there, an ad on YouTube, Facebook, or communicate with people on Reddit, set out some information for Board Game Geeks website and stuff. You can do all of that still as part of your Kickstarter campaign. But you launch the Kickstarter campaign with that upper boundary marked. Like, bare minimum, we need to hit 100,000 sales. And if we do that, then the rest of the process of getting the games out to the people who funded it and other processes like that happen. But if we don't hit that marker, then we don't have the complications of making a partway success. Like a partway success where if we hit under the $100,000 goalpost in this process, the consequences to me will economically hurt me. It'll hurt me more to underachieve that than anything else that could happen. So it sort of feels like a requirement to reach that certain threshold. And of those two methods, a crowdsourced method avoids that underachievement, whereas doing everything else on my own in the background, I have a little bit more control over what I'm doing, and it streamlines. It gives me the fine control to tweak things in the process of happening. There aren't parts of it that are out of my control. It's that you're depending on another company to make certain parts of it happen at that rate. And that is the path that has the most risk of underachieving and leaving me with the consequences of that. So I feel like it's possible that the crowdfunding is maybe the way to go to test out that platform. So I can do a soft launch in summer. I can make the game available for purchase in small purchase batches. Get some feedback from the Game Crafters company. For how big a bulk order they can, or how big a demand they're able to support. And then, doing that through Kickstarter may give me the option of not pursuing that as aggressively as I could if I had a sense that I was going to achieve that marker. That may be what I end up doing. There's a part of me that doesn't like it because there's also this sense along the way that a Kickstarter is just an idea, and ideas are about a dime a dozen in a Kickstarter like environment, whereas somebody who's creating a thing on their own, feels more like a real thing. Do you get what I mean? Like, my thought here is like, if you were to have two different people come to you, they're game designers. They came out with this. They have this amazing game idea, and they're trying to pitch them to you. One of them says, "You can support my Kickstarter for a copy of my game," and the other one says, "I've come up with this amazing game. I want to see if you. I want you to be in. I'll talk to you about the game, and you can decide whether or not you want to purchase this game from my website." Like, I feel like there's an aspect of it that it feels more real when it's a person with their game and not a person with their Kickstarter for their game. But that might just be a bias I have. I don't know. I just feel like Kickstarter mediates a lot of the risk factors that I would end up being involved with if I did it all on my own. And they have some streamlined processes that should make it easier to do. How long a campaign can you run on Kickstarter? I believe it was like a 1 or a 3 month process last time I checked. So Kickstarter fulfillment A to Z, design services, disc and vinyl pressing, fulfillment. Now that is another thing that comes up, is whether or not I might place an order for a large number of them and make them available for sale on Amazon through Amazon fulfillment. Okay, so was your playing card game a hit? Need to find an online distributor. Making an RPG for the first time, these services can help with everything from making to selling your game. Ad Magic, Grand Prix International. The Game Crafter is supported there. United States Playing Card Company. Okay. Okay, so that, I mean, it looks like it's not an impossibility. It just feels like kickstarting the game feels like it's shuffling it to the back of some sort of priority list or sense of realness to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too harsh. Like, I don't know. I will have to do a little more research on the topic, but like, if it works out, if kickstarting a game works out well enough for this idea, then I may use the idea again in the future to launch a few of my other games. I think I might just have to go on to something like Reddit and ask game creator communities their thoughts on the process. would the game seem less legitimate if the game was kickstarted versus launched independently? I feel like there's got to be some answers I can get from a few other people about what they think about that process. I feel like I need to build a plan, like chart it out for both options and see what makes the most sense going forward. And from there, learning and understanding that we may get it wrong and we may have to redo it a different way the next time we do it. Like, I may full well get some things wrong and learn some things in the process. Do a half successful launch and then have to relaunch again in a little time in the future. I don't know. I think the other thing I have to ask at a certain point is, like, price wise, figuring out what the price of the game would be. So let's see. Make. So if I did card game on Game Crafters, and I did say do they have the one poker deck with 18 cards? That's not where I'm going. 18 cards, 32 cards, mini deck, no. 36 card micro deck, no. Domino deck, business card deck, bridge deck. So 18 cards is the 18 cards seems to be the standard. So 18 cards. Poker deck with 18 cards. It's 9 cents a card, is it? Cost item. Items per sheet. Yeah. So per card would be 9 cents. Cost per sheet. So we would do one poker deck. I think we probably talked about this once before. US game deck with 18 cards. So $180 cards. No. Yeah. So it looks like that's the one to do. So we're looking at like a 10-cent. So let's say 20 cents per sheet. How many do we have? We had 18 times 2 get us 36 times 2 get us 72 cards. So I think I did a 72 card deck with instruction booklet and box would be, so that's 4 times the 10-cent set. So it would be, cost of the deck itself should be in the range of $1. The box is probably going to cost me a couple more bucks. The instructions are going to cost me a couple bucks. And then they're going to take a cut of the sale. So in the end, it's probably going to cost me about $8 to $10 to produce a 72 card deck. So if we do that, what's the good markup? Would $15 be a good mark for a deck of cards for a card game? I mean, I can go look on Amazon and see what the prices running for that kind of thing are. And then the question comes in my mind whether or not I'm able to do a fulfillment by Amazon, so that you could go on to Amazon, see the game listed, order it, have Amazon send you the game from them, and I get paid as the person who listed the game on Amazon, and Amazon takes a cut. I think that would depend on, yeah, I do feel like if I were to do that, the listing on Amazon would have to be priced differently than the listing I would do anywhere else. I could think about that a little bit, but I think I'm going to have to do some asking questions of people in communities online about some of that stuff. And I can use that as an opportunity to get some interest in the game that I'm designing. It's a lot of questions to answer. Is the real big part here. I do think probably kickstarting or crowdfunding is probably the easiest and safest way to start, because it's really easy to get it into your head that, oh, we just need to get a lot of attention for this game. Yeah, we do. We may not fully succeed at achieving that effect, and the consequences of not achieving that are harder on me than if we hit that bare minimum marker that we set. That minimum marker of 100,000 copies sold. You'd have to really pull off a really amazing campaign for that. And I feel like to a certain degree, it's safer to try to make a Kickstarter campaign hit that marker than it is to try to get a campaign of my own devising to make that mark. I'll have to look into it a little more. It is a bit of a dilemma that I'm having to sort of deal out with my head right now. 100,000 copies. If we put the mark at a certain level where the profits to me that I will split with charities is $5 a piece, that's going to be roughly $500,000. I don't know that there's a lot of chance that a game from a first time creator will hit that level. That seems like a steep ask. But I'm actually doing a little looking right now to see what sort of markers a lot of these are currently at. So like what are current campaigns running on Kickstarter doing? Do we have a card game? No. Like, that's disappointing already. Home stretch games. Games that are in the home stretch, I guess, is what they're going for. All right, fine. Let's take a look at a standard board game then. If you're not going to show me any card games, let's just take a look. $69,000 marker. See, that's not bad. But that really does suggest, well, they're at $313,000 that they'll hit. I may have to redo some evaluations to see what I can get away with. But okay, so we have a $24,000 goal for another game. It's an expansion and second printing, but they've so far made $189,933 of a $24,000 goal. So and it's hard to say because a lot of those seem to be like follow-ons or brand names. So let's see what card game search brings us. So most of the card game stuff I'm seeing right now So we've got like Dirty Pooch is $830 pledged. So it's 16% funded, 27 days left to go. Capsized Playing Cards by Circle Games, or Circe Games. Nautical themed game. They're currently at €8,000 and they're 110% pledged or funded. So that puts the marker of achievement lower. So it seems to suggest that the threshold for success needs to be very close to that less than $10,000 marker. It'd be super ambitious to be aiming for 100,000 pledged, let alone 500,000 if that's what you want to go for. All right, so something to think about. So that could be more along the lines of the soft launch. But that would be tricky. That would be tricky. I could do a soft launch through a Kickstarter, and I can set the bar low enough that it doesn't cause me any problems, but it doesn't really hatch on to the success level needed to do more than that. Like I could legitimately set the bar to $1,000. Can we meet $1,000 mark? And I'm pretty certain we could meet that mark at a certain point. That might just be the way to go. Do a soft launch on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and then from there, gauge what we can find out about how to make it go further. Can't guarantee it's the right path, but it's probably the safer path. Which is disappointing because there's a part of me like, I really want to believe we can go full tilt all the way if we really wanted to. Alrighty, well, I guess I'll have to think about that and do a little questing around for more information, but we'll see where we can go with it. For now, those are my thoughts and explorations on the concept of trying to launch a game at some point. Trying to get past some of the hurdles put in the way of launching a game. We'll see where it goes from here. I guess I'll see you on Sunday. Hope you're doing well.